Hi Bart, how are you?
Hi, Margot. Good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for coming again on the podcast. Very happy to have you. So you are the ex-CDIO of HSBC here in the region, and you left this company 2 years ago to build your own, Refocus AI. You're going to tell us a bit more about it. I wanted to understand two things. So what do you do now, and what made you shift as well from having a corporate data role in a bank to building your own AI company?
I'll start with the latter part of the question. It was a very conscious decision. I was thinking about it for a few years to set up my own company. I thought, based on the experience I gained at HSBC, I was well equipped to deliver on the data analytics and AI use cases. And I started supporting companies with something similar that I've been doing in the past. So I think, again, this was a journey, but well planned and thought of before. What do? I do, so Refocus AI is basically focusing on three pillars at the moment. The first one is the consulting and advisory, where we support other companies with the right solutions, with the right use cases, implementation and execution of the AI use cases, making sure that we help them deliver on the right impact and we commercialize those solutions with them. The second pillar is the staff augmentation, where we offer tech individuals that are able to step in and support some of this work. So this could be developers, this could be UI UX specialists, API specialists, iOS, Android developers, etc. So the individuals that can help you get from point A to B when you have a certain POC or MVP deployment. And the third aspect, which is picking up and growing very quickly these days, is the AI training. And I think it's great that it's growing right now because it raises the awareness. And I see that many companies are now starting with the AI training first before committing to any of the AI work that is actually served by the first pillar, which is the consulting and advisory.
Perfect transition for my first question. I wanted to ask you about what you thought about how advanced or how mature is the AI adoption here in the region? Do you think that there is a lot of noise around AI, obviously, but do you think that companies actually are interested in putting in place adoption plans, or we're not there yet?
I think the companies are generally very interested and they want to capitalize on the AI adoption as quickly as possible. However, whether the market is ready, I think it's a mix, right? Because some of the companies are very forward thinking, and I'll give you one example. Property Finder has recently asked me for help, and I'm on the AI training. And this is, again, public information, something we've posted on LinkedIn, so I hope they don't mind me mentioning that on your podcast. But I think that shows how forward-thinking their executive management team is, how forward-thinking the HR and L&D departments are. Because, you can't start such a big shift as AI without having the cultural change. And when we were talking and when we were delivering the training, I've realized that a lot of their employees actually share the same DNA, which means that they're very tech savvy and they already use AI in one way or another, right? And I think that's a first step for you to then go back and say, what is it that we can change? What is it that we can operationalize, automate, make things easier for our guys so they can focus on what's really important, making business.
So that's a very good point, because in the companies you work for, usually what type of profiles do you train? Do they are the companies asking you to train all the employees, or usually you start by a certain population?
So again, I think it depends on the company, but some of the companies are more definite about what they want, and they want, for example, to focus on their sales teams. And I think that's the right start. Some of them focus on the operations or some of the back office functions. Again, there are no good or bad choices over there, right? Because for each of them, you can find different use cases. For example, if you focus on legal, you can think of the LLM adoption to analyze your contracts and think of the clauses that you will create or put in your next contract, or kind of standardize your offering in terms of the legal contracts. If you focus on the operations, you can try to automate some of the repetitive tasks and manual tasks and reduce the human error in the middle. And when you're focusing on sales, you can focus a lot on the AI use cases, lead generation, Salesforce adoption, and the way you can kind of try to adopt AI for those use cases. So I don't think that there is any kind of wrong or bad decisions there. together.
Because what I see personally is a lot of executives that are actually interested in AI. And when I used to be in consulting, I didn't see this the same interest, like deep interest for data or traditional AI. Right now, as people individually actually have access to it and understand that it can even impact them as individual at work, I see that this population is, I'm not saying they are starting by this, but it's quite new for them to be really into sort of tech topics, you know? I don't know if you see the same here as well. Yeah,
I do.
It's exactly.
But I think that there is a good reason for that, for what you described. They were not excited about data because data for them was not an exciting topic. They didn't understand how it's going to generate leads. And it was more of the compliance requirement or a certain mundane task that they have to complete, whilst GenAI is democratizing the access for everyone, and everyone can be trained and everyone can immediately start reaping benefits of that, right?
Exactly.
So, for example, also when we're talking about the segmentation of the training, we offer VIP days for C-suite level executives or for the senior executives, and that helps building the momentum, because then when they participate in the training, and it's always hands-on where they can test the tools that we use, then they go back to their teams and they say, this is great.
Yeah.
Now we're going to train the rest of you on the same solutions, right? So I think that's a good start. Coming back to your previous question, to start with the top of the company, which then kind of promotes the further training and dissemination of knowledge.
Yeah, so it helps for the adoption.
Correct.
Interesting. And so when we talk about adoption, we talk about upskilling actually when it comes to AI, Gen AI. There was a discussion I had recently with someone who actually does a bit the same, but he's in France, and he was telling me in Europe there is like upskilling is the big topic, but he was telling it to me saying like all the executives and the leaderships, they are so scared because there are roles in their company that may be actually augmented or even replaced. We need to downsize some of the teams, etc., etc. And they live in a country where it's actually very, very difficult to fire someone. I'm being very blunt. In a country where we have a lot of flexibility with employees, I'm not saying it's bad but it's just very different. How can we still make sure and convince the companies and the leaders that it is worth it to actually upskill your employees? Like, please do not like just fire people that do not know AI to hire others. Like, how do we make sure that companies take this responsibility to upskill their people?
Great question, and I think it's not something that we're going to resolve here.
No.
But I think every kind of challenge brings an opportunity as well.
Yes.
So for me, the over-regulation and making sure that people's job security is the number one requirement shouldn't be the kind of driving factor for the companies. It should be the revenue being progressive and delivering value for the clients.
Yeah.
So I would flip this the other way around. So I think in the perspective of this region, I think it's doing the right thing by kind of, it's more incentivizing people to upskill and change the way they work by the use of AI. And once they are, then they are equipped for what's ahead, right? So, and the companies that are actually not investing in the AI training will probably lag behind. So the kind of regulations that are supposed to actually protect your employees may not work in favor for them in the long term.
Yeah, I agree.
And I see that a number of companies have already redeployed their staff and their resources, right? And I've seen companies in the past that have been really good at it. So whenever you're adopting something which is replacing some jobs, it doesn't mean those people are losing their jobs. It means that they should be retrained on something and move to another more creative task that brings value.
Yeah. So properly reorganizing your teams and being smart, but it makes the company very attractive as well.
Yes.
Because you want to join a company that actually invests on yourself as a person, as an employee. So okay, that's very interesting. And so you've been doing that for almost 2 years. And in your experience here, what was the number one blocker for either people to accept to be trained or companies to accept to upskill their people to go into this sort of training journey?
I think it's the stigma because we're on the Gartner hype cycle.
Yes.
We had this peak of excitement where people got excited. Oh, GenAI, this is great. Then it's going to do miracles, right? And then we had the throw of disillusionment where people are like, okay, but it's making mistakes. It's hallucinating.
It's not magic. And that's true.
It's not working for a number of things, right?
Yeah.
So what next? But I guess now we're at reaching the peak or the kind of plateau of productivity. So demystifying it and showing that it's for everyone is one of the key factors. The example I gave you, I think in the previous podcast, where in our hands-on training, we show people how to code. So they use ChatGPT, for example, to generate some simple code, and then we use Replit to execute that in Python. That shows people that, from now on, there are less and less barriers between them and certain different roles.
Yeah.
And they can actually start doing quite a lot with GenAI, showing them the real life use cases that they can adopt straight away, going back to their desks, replying to emails, generating reports, looking at the reviews and building the tables that show them a comparison of certain choices they have to make. I guess that's where it helps for people to realize that this is no longer so mystical, right? Now you can use GenAI and do the jobs you've never thought of before that you'll be capable of.
Yeah, that's a very interesting answer. And how do you make sure, because there is a lot of excitement when it comes to, okay, like, as you said, in my own organization, in my own, I can be more productive with, you were saying, emails, etc. So all of this, I think people are very easily convinced. But then how do you make sure, or what will be your guidance for them to make sure that they properly adopt it? Because it's a good thing to go to a training. It's amazing. You think it can do great things, etc., etc. But then how do you make sure that people really use it regularly, make it a habit, and then take the change a bit their mindsets in order to find new AI opportunities in their job, etc., etc.
So I think it's a matter of culture, right? And you nurturing that culture of being AI and tech savvy. And it's like going to the gym, right? So unless you're regular
that's a very
with it,
comparison.
Unless you're regular with it and go and do 3 sets of 15 repetitions of a certain exercise, you can get really good at it, right? So I think it's repeating that. It's making sure that you walk the talk as an executive and you use the AI yourself, and then you keep checking with your employees. So are you using it? Who's using it for what use cases? Like, can you share with everyone what are the kind of different things that you've done today? So I guess building that culture helps a lot with driving the AI adoption.
It's very interesting because what I've seen a lot in some companies, so I'm talking about the region, but it's everywhere in the world, it's basically people that were using AI, but before having any upskilling or training plan in their company, they're using AI. Let's say an SEO expert, for example, he's using AI. It's helping him a lot to be more productive, but he's not saying it because he's like, okay, if I say it, it's not well seen to... You see what I mean? So because I'm saving some time, so they will think that I deserve less money, etc., etc. So I don't know if we are there yet. So it means like people are excited, they're using it, but at the same time, some are like, okay, if I automate too many things in my job, I'm going to look bad. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So how do we, is it a sort of executive perspective that need to show, okay, for example, recognizing that the employees that are using AI are actually good because they're curious, etc. How do we make sure the mindset shifts? Because for me, if someone uses AI and get good practice, he can train the others, he can show examples. How do you make sure you put this culture in the company?
That's a great question there, Margot. And I guess I've posted about this some time ago on LinkedIn as well. So far, a lot of employees are penalizing a lot of companies are penalizing their employees for using AI because of fear that the data is going to be leaked outside, because of using it for kind of a third party
which is fair. Yeah.
And I think that there should be certain again ramifications and policies to safeguard that, especially if it's sensitive data or PII data. However, I think that these are also typically the employees that are the more ambitious ones, the curious ones. So you want to make sure that you keep them engaged and motivated. And I would rather listen to them and see like, okay, so let's learn from that and try to then build around what should we introduce Copilot, for example, which is safer than, I would say, ChatGPT if it's part of your ecosystem, because then it's leaking the information outside, especially if you train it and implement it the right way. So I guess that there are a number of ways that you can do. And again, our company is helping with that, where you can make sure that the employees are not leaking sensitive data outside. But yeah, it's a great question, something that we're going to be with for the next couple of years. And I'm I'm expecting that there's going to be some serious incidents involved, which will not help again. But that's part of the learning process for everyone.
Yeah. So, and you were mentioning data leakage. It's one of the main fear. Do you have other, like 2 or 3 other fears that employees or leaders actually share with you about AI adoption in their company?
Job replacement is probably the standard one. Number one question, right? Is am I safe? And I guess my answer. Well, we're now in the kind of lifelong learning process, right? So we're no longer learning the way we used to in the past, where you go on a training, where you go on a course, you spend 2-3 months or 2-3 years, and then you're doing something. Now we're learning the AI, and I think everyone should start using it for their daily jobs, daily tasks, and everything else, right? So as long as you do that, I would say you're secure, because you're already ahead of 90% of the population that is not using it. Right? So I think until it becomes more democratized, as long as you kind of follow certain simple steps, including use of AI on daily basis, you shouldn't be worried about being replaced. And on the other hand, you will be more marketable, right? So this is going to be something that people should start putting on their CVs, saying like, I've been using AI since, I don't know, ChatGPT 3.0, right? That tells me already an information. Like somebody's been testing it. Somebody was curious, right? They did things before it gained the bigger hype, etc.
Oh, very interesting. And if we go back to the way corporate train their employees, according to you, and I'm sure you have very different clients. Sometimes it may be HR, sometimes it may be you go through the execs, etc. Do you see an ownership that works better than another? Is it better when the HR actually lead it? Is it better when it comes from the top, from the execs? Is it better when the tech teams actually take the lead on making sure that all the teams are being trained on AI? Which leadership works better, according to you?
I don't think that there is any difference. What's important for me is that there is some appetite and there is the will to learn, right? So whether it's coming from the HR or from the business, it doesn't really matter. Okay. What's important is that there is already someone in the organization who understands the need for training and upskilling. So yeah, I probably wouldn't say that there is one department that is more important than the others.
Interesting. Yeah, that's interesting. And when you train in companies, because that's a question I get asked a lot, do you think everyone is trainable? The reason why I'm asking that is not that people will not understand or anything, but do you think you should focus when you invest in upskilling on champions in the companies that get super trained, and then the other you give them maybe acculturation to AI? So do you focus on champions, or do you think we should train everyone at the same level? Obviously, it should be linked to their jobs, but do you think everyone should be trained?
Everyone is trainable, yes. Not everyone should be trained at the same level, right? So the kind of general population should get a more general AI training using the tools that like ChatGPT, Copilot, Perplexity, maybe Gemini. And this should be different, for example, from the coders population, who are way more advanced and should be trained on proper coding and using the GitHub for their testing of the code that they're making. But yeah, I think everyone is trainable, and obviously there will still be pockets in the organization of people who are not feeling comfortable with getting out of their comfort zone, right? Yeah. So for those people, it just takes a bit more time. But again, I think bringing them into those trainings shows them the capabilities and the possibilities, and they'll eventually move there as well. Yeah. So it's not everyone moves at the same pace. I guess we have to be tolerant about it and understand that, each of our employees have different pace. But I guess, most of the people following the trainings do see value and they want to experiment on their own.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is what is very impressive with this topic. I used to have training where last time someone came, it was entrepreneurs, so nothing to do with like corporate companies. And she came to the training and she told me when she presented herself, she was like, I'm against AI. And I was like, okay, so it's good that you came. And she came because she has like kids and she has teenagers. And she was like, but I come because I don't understand anything, but I'm against it. And at the end of the training, my win was that she went out of the training and she was super excited. And she was like, oh, actually, there are things I can use, even if I am a bit older than the others. And if I think that it's not for me and I have a job, she works in design. So she was a bit scared about this. And so it takes maybe more time for these profiles. But when they see value for themselves, then they can start. And not everyone needs to be an AI expert.
And I think this is a great example of demystifying AI,
Yes.
right? Where someone came with a certain
fear or
prejudice about AI, but then left with a different feeling. I'm not saying it will change for everyone. It's even, I like when people have certain opinions, and even if they're kind of on the opposite sides. But as long as they are learning and they are seeing some value, I think that's the key.
Yeah, I agree with you. And what do you think as like the number one mistake a company can do when it comes to upskilling their people on AI?
I think, again, this is relying too much on your own resources and not getting the experts from the outside. Because if you already have a certain way of working, then even if you take your brightest minds from the IT who are great at AI adoption, are they also good at delivering training for the rest? Are they also aware of different use cases or what the competition is doing? Are they aware of the broader market, right? And what's the kind of current trends? The answer is probably not in most of those cases, right? So again, it may be a cheaper option in the short term, but it's, again, I'll give you another example. Some of the companies, when the LLMs were released, said, okay, now we're going to build our own LLMs.
Yes.
Great, but it's costly, it's resource consuming, and I would advise you not to, right? So yes, you can do it in-house, you can try it, but then for how long are you going to keep this model as advanced as, for example, Gemini and ChatGPT are now advancing? You can't do that forever, right? Again, so it's the same with the training and the upskilling. I think you can do it, but it will then, again, have an expiry date, right? And unless you kind of try to upgrade the training, which we do, for example, after each training, there is a better version of what we deliver, then you can't keep up with the market.
Yeah, very interesting. And then if you had to convince a skeptical like executive who doesn't want to invest, as you were saying, like either it's because they want to do it internally or doesn't want to invest because they don't see the value, what would you say?
So I think it's best to start with the most basic needs. Ask him about what's your challenge for today, and then pick up the phone and use ChatGPT to answer that challenge and help him with the immediate answer. Gauge his interest, right? You can't convince anyone in 30 seconds, especially someone who's very opinionated about the AI. But you can at least give it an attempt to answer his question live, and then ChatGPT, for example, could answer it with the latest version, right?
Yeah, so just test it, like try, and then you'll see. And so this will be for himself, but then for the companies, because I see actually a lot of people who wants to get trained, but then it's an investment to say, okay, I'm going to train my people. If you're in a big company, it's quite a big line of budget that you may not have planned. So what is the value for, obviously, both of us, we are 100% convinced that there is a big value. But how do you convince them? Like, where should they start? What is the value for them on the mid and long term?
I mean, first
you said being attractive, but it's not the only one. Yeah.
Yes, I think there is no way of forcing someone into this, but eventually those companies that don't upskill will stay behind, and many will realize that a bit too late. But I would say that the ROI is something that I usually come with, and we, as part of the training, for example, can identify the use cases because these are highly tailored trainings. We sometimes ask the companies to ask their employees to come with the use cases from their daily jobs that they would like to present. And then we have an assessment panel consisting of their senior executives who pick which of the use cases should go into production based on the ROI, based on the usability, based on the benefit for the company. So again, it should be very commercially driven. And if you attach that to your training, then it really becomes an investment, not a cost for the company to train your employees.
Yeah, the moment you can actually show value.
Correct.
Very good. Cool. Any last key takeaway you wanted to share with the listeners before we end the conversation?
I think it's been a great conversation. I really enjoyed it. So thank you for having me here. And if any of the companies need our help, then we're open to do that.
Yeah, I'll share all the details. I'll put the links in the descriptions of the episode so everyone can access your website, but as well maybe check what you share on LinkedIn and follow you on LinkedIn. Yeah,
absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, Bart, for your time, and I'll see you soon.
See you soon.